Hard to capture, extravagant, resurrect the track and it's militant. And I react like a convict and start killing. It's manifested. The God's work like appliances, dealing in my sacred.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys another discussion for the Boruto anime. I know that's really odd because we just had a manga chapter. However, the last Boruto anime episode, episode 2 of the Kara Actuation arc, has provided me with a few things I wanted to talk about that I didn't want to go too far into detail in the actual review. So obviously, if you've not seen the latest Boruto episode, I highly recommend doing so. A lot of people think that this past episode was filler, which it isn't actually filler, and that's not like, oh yeah, they're saying every episode of the anime is canon. That's not the case here. This is an arc that's meant to set up the actual Ao and Kawaki arcs of the Boruto anime, so this is actually adding context and building on stuff that we've gotten in the manga. So I highly recommend checking out the last 2 Boruto episodes. But with that being said, I'm assuming if you're watching this, you've already seen the episode. So I wanted to talk to you guys about how Boruto throughout this last episode was essentially ignoring a key fundamental of what both Sasuke tried to teach him as well as Mujino, which is the fact that you can't draw attention to yourself and you can't get too friendly with people. So when you really look at this episode, the thing that they really hammered home in a very subtle way is the fact that a ninja must always learn to see past deception, and a ninja must learn how to deceive people. Those two principles go hand in hand with one another. So when it comes to seeing past deception, that's what Mujino is trying to teach Boruto. He's trying to tell him, like, look man, just because Victor is the president of this medical company doesn't mean that you need to trust him. You're getting way too comfortable with him. You're getting way too comfortable with myself, and you just met me. You don't know anything about me. I could be an enemy. You should not trust people as quickly as you do. And it's because at this point, Boruto is a very naive 13-year-old kid. He's very naive. So he, for the most part, does not know that, like, hey, I'm jumping to conclusions a little too quickly. Now, the other thing though, and this kind of ties into what Sasuke was saying, which is don't draw attention to yourself. Now, Sasuke protected Boruto from drawing attention via his karma seal, but the fact of the matter is that between Mitsuki and Boruto, they basically gave the enemy all the intel that they needed. So I don't think people truly understand this. I think people understand that, like, oh, the Hokage's son, that's gonna put a bounty on your head. People are gonna be very interested in you. I think that the Mujina Bandits arc did a good job of just hammering that home. But the fact is that when you really start looking at it, like when you start looking at Konoha, right? Boruto has even more protection than Naruto did when Naruto was growing up. People always ask me, how did nobody make the connection that Naruto is the 4th Hokage's son from outside of the village? And the people are saying, oh, you got all these Uzumakis and Minato's blonde. How come nobody picked up on the connections? Because a name at the end of the day is strictly a name. The Uzumaki was spread out all throughout the place. And so when you look at all those people in the village, just going by the first name, more than one person could have the same first name. When it comes to the fact that Naruto is a blonde-headed Uzumaki, it's the same principle that goes there. Uzumaki are spread out. Obviously, they're gonna have to have children with other people. So a blonde-haired Uzumaki, you don't know for certain whether or not it's Minato's kid. And by Naruto not knowing, that was one of the ways they're able to hide Naruto. So when it comes to Boruto, it's the same principle here. Boruto, everybody knows Naruto has a son. However, as long as Boruto doesn't give out his last name, you get an opportunity to essentially go undetected, because Konoha is the Land of Fire's capital right now. There are thousands of citizens who come from the Hidden Leaf Village. So when you start looking at that and you start looking at ninja, more than one ninja can have the same name as long as it's not the same last name. But when you give yourself an identifying marker, like say, I'm the 7th Hokage's son, like what Mitsuki said, like, oh yeah, that's the Lord Seven's son. And then Boruto says that my father has a prosthetic arm like that. That's when you start allowing the enemy to know, like, if things go south, I have the Hokage's son here. I can overpower him, I can kill everybody else around him, and I can use the Hokage's son as a negotiation tactic. Or the other thing you can do is use Boruto, because he's so naive, as a way to figure out how much intel that Konoha has. Because you have to remember, Victor already knows, based on the meeting that they had at the end of the last Boruto episode, that Konoha has been researching into Kara and that they are looking for information. And now, less than a few days later, Boruto is showing up in the Land of Valleys. So in less than a few days, you have Konoha Ninja snooping around where Kara is acting. It's in a situation like this to where you don't want to give the enemy extra intel. And it kind of really just goes to show you that, like what Sasuke told Boruto when he said, like, look, you're very talented, but you still need to get mission experience. Sasuke knows the same thing Naruto knows, that Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki, they're all tuning level when it comes to their skill and their accomplishments, and yet at the same time, despite how skilled they are, and despite the fact that you could argue they possess power that exceeds Jonin level, the fact is that they're still pretty green. They still have a few edges that have to be roughed out, and the only way you rough those edges out is essentially by having them go out on missions. So I think that this right here just kind of shows you that, like, Boruto is giving all the information to the enemy without realizing that's something he's doing, and you see it with Mujino and Konohamaru trying to go up behind Boruto and clean things up and say, oh no, we need to ask these questions. No, I'll take Boruto, we'll go over here. It's gonna be one of those things right there where I'm gonna be very interested to see how they potentially shield Boruto from basically giving too much information based on the way that he's talking and the way that he's behaving. But I want to know from you guys, do you guys think that this could be a problem? Not just for the Kara Actuation arc, but just in general. Do you think that this is a problem for a ninja to give identifying information about themselves? I personally say you draw the line when it comes to ninja rank, because that's one of those things we've seen in different novels and source materials, that you can give your name, but you don't give your rank away. You don't give your rank away unless it's to defuse a situation, and you don't give any identifying information. You say my name's Konohamaru, but you don't say Konohamaru Sarutobi, Jonin of Konoha. You just say I'm Konohamaru, a Hidden Leaf Village shinobi, and you kind of leave it there. So I want to know from you guys, how do you guys feel about that? But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.